everybody. Welcome to It's Okay to Be Okay. I'm Crystal, one of your hosts, and along with Jen and Melissa.
Hi.
So, on the last episode, we had the pleasure of coaching a friend of Jen's, Jessica. And Melissa did a fantastic job. She really took the lead on that. And if you haven't watched that episode, Melissa just really shows her wisdom, her inner badass. It was brilliant. Jen had great points too, and if you watch that episode, you'll notice I didn't say anything. Maybe a couple things. But that's okay. Because sometimes you learn in this understanding, sometimes it's better not to say anything at all. And so in my case, it was best for me to just be an observer and to listen. And I'm good with that. Anybody else like your thoughts?
I love that. And I think the more guests we get on, the more we're going to kind of interact with those guests and know whose energy is perfect for that person. You
Yeah.
know, like for me, I'm not very good at coddling. I'm very much like to the straight to the point and kind of like brutally going through that wall. And I really enjoyed that last episode. I found it really inspiring, really fun, and Jessica was amazing. But it also gave me an insight as well that I've got to stop being afraid of being that brutal, powerful person. So that was my big insight from that one is that it's okay to be because we come into this understanding and then we think, oh, we've got to like be gentle with people.
Yeah.
And some people are good at that. I'm not. And I think this understanding has shown me that as long as you're authentic to you, you will attract the right clients to you. You know, if you're more,
Absolutely.
if you coddle more, or if you are more loving, then you will attract clients that need that. If you're more straightforward like me, I will attract clients that need that. And it's like, huh. And I just felt this confidence come up in me, you know?
It did.
And
And I seen it. And, Jessica's been one of my best friends for 16, 17 years. Like, our kids grew up together, boy Caden and girl Caden. And she helped me through so much. Like, she was always a rock for me because I was all over the place and didn't. I was a searcher. I was a throwaway. I ran from my feelings. I was afraid of them. I thought that they would consume me and destroy me, so I just didn't. I'm like, "Oh, there's a feeling. We should kill that right now." And, so having Jessica come on the show on the podcast was awesome for me because when we're close to someone, there's barriers that because we're um attached to an outcome. And Melissa, I just knew that you were the person to be able to talk to Jessica, and that if any of us could help her see where we're coming from, because she does a lot of work and helps people do a lot of work going for the same goal.
Mm.
I figured that if anybody could help her see that it can be so much easier than what she believes it to be, it would be you, Melissa.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I get where she's coming from because I've been on that journey myself. I've been on that searching and seeking and going through every bloody modality there is, thinking I needed to do more work, thinking I needed to struggle more, thinking thinking, thinking I needed to do all of this stuff to feel peace. And the fact that you can just drop it all is just so empowering to me. Like I said, it feels like a superpower to be able to just drop something, because it's so hard when we get that thought and then when that spiral starts. It's so hard to drop it mid spiral
Yes.
because you don't want to let go of it. Your ego doesn't want to let go of it. It's like, no, that's my truth.
Right,
Right.
because you see it as truth. We see in that spiral, it's like our own personal crisis, and it's real, and we feel it, and it's overwhelming and intense, and you feel like, oh my God, I have to unpack this. I have to figure out what's causing this. And then you come to the three principles and you're told, oh no, that's just thought.
Yeah.
And at first, if you just hear it as that's just thought, just set it down, you're like, well, fuck you, because how do you do that? You fucking, that's nice. This is just thought. Come here. Let me punch you in the face and you can tell me that's just thought too.
Yeah, tell me what you think about that, huh?
So I understand the resistance. Like, I get the resistance because I resisted
Yeah.
at first. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's just thought. It's just thought that magically there's no money in the bank account. Magically the bills are stacking up. And oh, that's just thought that I'm getting kicked out of my house or I can't feed my family in it. But when you slow down enough and see that there are circumstances and that thought creates the experience, circumstance doesn't. And then you start to see what thought looks like. Because thought doesn't just look like pictures in your head, which I don't get, but the voice in your head, that's the afterthought of thought. So it finding a way to show people what thought looks like, I think, is the hardest part of our job. Helping people
Yeah.
step out of the content, because when you're digging through the content and looking at the content and then trying to battle the content, because, well, that's a bad thought, that's not the person I want to be, I want to think like this, it's exhausting.
Oh my
And
God.
I think the hardest part of our job as three principles teachers is showing people what thought looks like.
Yeah, because thought is formless, you can't physically show someone. You know, we can only use so many words to point them to it.
Right,
know.
but you have to see that the your experience comes from that power of thought. So what's the best way to help someone see the power of thought? That's just a question that just came to me. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. You know why? Because it's to just keep pointing them in the direction of to look inside. Because, I get trying to understand the power of thought, but intellectually, you're never going to understand the power of thought.
No.
I mean, we think we do, right? We're like, oh, okay, right. Thought, mind, consciousness, got it. No, you
Yep.
don't. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that it's not an intellectual thing. So, you know, we just keep pointing people inside because inside is everything that is innate. Inside is our wisdom. And when we get a glimpse, all we need is just a tiny glimpse. It opens up kind of like that window there. And then you see that thought. It kind of like, holy crap,
Mm-hmm.
it really is just a thought.
Yeah.
This feeling really is coming from me. I don't care what that person just called me. I'm the one pissed off about it. They're not. They went about their day and they're gone. So, like, yeah, when it's an actual thing that comes from inside and you're innate, being, then
you get it.
yeah,
And the thing is as well, like 70% of the time, I'm not in that space. I'm in that thought bubble, you know. But that 30% that I have been in it is enough. You only have to be in that for like a second, and you're like, oh wow, I see it. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. There's no going back.
Yeah, and then it becomes you start to see thought. You start to feel the tension and see it as thought. You feel the apprehension or the anxiousness about doing something, and then you step back and you see it as thought, and it doesn't change the feeling. It takes the power away from it. So then we don't have to hide from it or run from it or feel the need to change it. And in doing so, it allows it to flow through.
Yeah.
And new, better thought, insight. Yeah.
And it's so magical, because when we're in that thought bubble of whatever it is that we're struggling with, overwhelm, struggle, frustration, whatever it is, we're in that thought bubble and we can only see what's in that bubble, you know. But when we kind of take a step back and question the thought bubble, and that bubble kind of starts to disintegrate and you can see through it. And that's when you can get new answers that you couldn't see before, because the bubble was too strong. Once it kind of starts to dissipate, you can see new ideas coming. You're like, oh, how did I not see that? You know, I
right,
had an what was it the other day? Yeah, I spent like a whole day trying to figure out an idea. I put a post about this, and
I love that post, by the way.
I just could not get an idea anywhere. And I was getting rude, and I was trying to think my way out of it, and I knew that I was thinking. Even in the moment, I'm thinking that I'm thinking, and I'm like, I need to stop doing this. But even though me saying I need to stop doing this, that's more thinking, right, stop. And like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I went and had a bath, and I just went to read a book, and I didn't even get to the first freaking page. Idea popped in my head.
Yeah.
And then another one, and then another one, and then it just fucking flowed in my head, and I was like, oh, I gotta get out of the bath to write this down, you know. And it's just like, you can spend days, hours, weeks trying to come up with something, trying to come up with an idea, trying to come up with a solution to a problem, when if you just step back, the answer's always there. It's always there.
Just
kind of give
hanging
it
out.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you allow it space, then it waltzes right in. Like, hey, I've
Here
been
I
here the
am.
whole time.
Right. Here I am.
Thanks for finally acknowledging me, right? But
Mhm.
it's so necessary. Like you said, when you force it, yeah, it's a thing that's people trying to find solutions to problems and things like that. And then they're trying to think their way out of it, like you were saying. That's all you're doing, yeah. And just, I'm reiterating what you said.
Yeah,
That's all you're doing is just adding layers upon layers of thinking and even some stress on yourself
Mhm.
to come up with a solution. And it will never happen from that space. But as soon as you open it up a little bit, then yeah, there's that new thought I was looking for. There's that solution.
No, but and it sounds funny because like at first, the amount of thinking that I had about not thinking, because every time I would catch myself thinking, well, then I would, oh, I need to drop that, but I didn't know how. So then I would just think about not thinking. And it's like, well, how do you not think? Am I thinking about thinking? Am I thinking?
Yep.
And
And then before you know it, it's like 3 hours gone.
yeah,
Right. 3 hours. I was thinking 3 days.
You know, I think it took me a lot. It took me a long time, a lot of time of thinking about not thinking. And then I had to find little things of how to just not think and not think about not thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I found you can't think when you hunt.
Yeah.
And you know, we all have our own little things. But I think the biggest thing is becoming aware that you're thinking.
Mm. And I think it's you don't have to do anything with it, just being aware that it's thinking. That's
Yeah, I noticed that when I was trying to combat my thinking with thinking about not thinking, I hadn't yet realized that I can think, I just don't have to engage with it. It can go on all at once.
yeah.
And I can't, I'm sitting here trying to think, and I don't know at what point I was able to just set it down.
I think for me it was like I still do it now. Like sometimes I'm thinking and I'm trying to be relaxed or I'm trying to be still and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, I'm thinking, I need to stop thinking. And then I'm like, oh no, it's okay for those thoughts to be there. As soon as I say it's okay for those thoughts to be there, they kind of drop away because
Right.
I'm not trying to control them.
Right. And Jen, it kind of goes with, the principles anyway. It doesn't really matter when you decided to set that down. The the whole thing that matters is that you did.
Well, the thing is, I think that I finally set it down the second I stopped trying to figure out how to set it down.
Yeah.
Because I was so into, well, how do you drop that? How do you let go of it? How do you, how do you? And there is no how to. Uh, Someone said that in one of our groups. And it's like, oh, because when I want to let go of this, I don't have to think how to. I just look at it and know I'm letting go.
Mm.
It and it became that simple just when I switched it in my mind of having to figure out how to let go of something to, oh my God, I just release all the muscles that are holding those.
That's what I was just about to say. Like something just come to my mind. It's like when you're holding on to something for a long time, your hands seize up, right? And
Mhm.
you struggle to let go. That's what our mind has done. It's just that we hold on so tightly all the time that when we try to let go, it's like, oh, it's stiff. Like,
I love that. Melissa, that
Yes.
is beautiful. I've never heard it put that way, but that's exactly it. Like, that is a great representation, a visual of it. That is what we do.
Mm.
It becomes so, we're holding so tight to, thought patterns and beliefs and all those things. And we've been doing it for so long that our hands literally, we feel as though stuck in this position. And just,
Yeah.
that was
And
beautiful.
I think the more we question the thoughts, the the more that happens. And
Yeah.
then because we're questioning more, the easier it is to do that.
It's a little more flexible.
Yeah, and the quicker we can do it, you know?
Hmm.
I love that.
It was wonderful.
That's beautiful.
Like that gives me chills. Like, yeah.
That was awesome.
Like,
I love that.
thank you, Spirit, for giving me that. That
Absolutely.
didn't come from it. That come from mind.
Yes.
I heard something. One of you said something, and it literally just popped in my head.
Yes.
I didn't think that up. That just, it was there. That come from that intuition, that mind. And because we're quiet, and I can feel all of us, we're all very like, we're not fast minds. It's very 20 miles an hour. And when we're at that miles an hour, these things can just drop in. It's that easy.
Especially when we give ourselves that space. When I say that, it's not like I forcefully give myself that space. It's just now it's like you said, all of a sudden it becomes a quicker thing. Now the space is just there. Okay. And yeah, see, I give myself too much space sometimes.
Too much space that you forget.
I had something to say about that, but whatever. It'll come back to me. It'll happen every time.
It's brilliant.
I don't even know what we were talking about now.
I can't even remember.
Oh, it was about, yeah, wisdom, and it just drops in. I told it to come back to me. It was kind of like before, before we recorded the last episode, and it wasn't me thinking, oh my gosh, like, how are we gonna approach coaching? It was once I had a bit of background and on the person in my mind. So mind, not my personal mind said Melissa. And I said, yep, absolutely. And so that's why I messaged you. And I was like, I think you need to take the lead. I was hoping you would say yeah, because I was trying to get across it. It really wasn't me. I felt it from the depths of my soul.
It's just a knowing.
Yes.
There's no words really that you can use to explain that knowing. You have to experience it to know. And it does peace.
And the cool thing about that, the cool thing that I've noticed is once we start to become aware of thought and what thought looks like with us, not the thought content, but the thought process, and we start stepping back, then it starts to become natural and we start to do it automatically. And it just, it creates space. I'm sorry, I don't know what I was saying. So now I'm just rambling. There was a noise
I
back.
do it literally every freaking episode, not just this one, even on my own. Every episode, I will lose a thought. And so,
I think also it falls in the realm of insight as well. There's two parts to this three principles that I find for myself. And it's one that we're talking about now is questioning the thoughts, creating that more space. And then there's the insight, when you get that insight that just changes you straight away, where you don't have to do any work, where you don't have to question or anything. It just happens.
Yes.
absolutely.
But I feel some people will get it straight away. Some people will hear something and their whole life changes in one thought. Other people like me, I've had mini ones, constantly
Yes,
mini insights. And I think the more we question our thoughts, the more space we create for that insight to come in.
yes. Well, and in the more opportunities it seems like we're given to practice our understanding. It's like all of a sudden we're given opportunities where we would have behaved this way. We would have seen it as life happening to us. But every opportunity we're given to recognize how our experience is coming from the inside. And as we start to become aware of that and notice that, it's like we keep getting more and more opportunities. And some opportunities are wonderful and help us grow, and some opportunities are kind of a smack in the face, and it's like, ooh, yeah, I should have saw that just a minute before.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
But it's like every time we take that opportunity to see thought as thought and not as reality, that knowing gets stronger and it gets deeper. And then pretty soon, we're not given these little things to practice. It's like then something big will happen, and we're not the person we were a year ago. We're not the person we were 6 months ago because we've taken all of the opportunities life has given us to understand where our experience is coming from. And that's built that faith. I call it
Yes.
faith because you can't see what you're believing in.
Yeah.
It's a
And I
trust.
love that yeah, I love that you said that because the last, I don't know, 3, 4 months, I've really started to trust the universe, trust that I'm being guided in the right way. Whereas before I had to control it all the time. And I was like, I need to know the answer, I need to know why. But I've really started to kind of like fall back and just trust that mine is taking me exactly where I need to go. And like I used to feel like I just want one of those big insights that just change my life instantly. But I realized that I'm a helper. I'm a coach for other people. If I'd had that one insight, I wouldn't have been able to help people who don't get those big insights, that just get the popcorn sized ones. And because I've experienced that, I can now help other people. And there will be some people in there that just get it in one insight. But I love this is another like this is more kind of spiritual, but I get a lot of synchronicities now. Like a lot. It's so crazy. And even though some of them are so small, I'm like, wow, like that's just not coincidence. It's magic. And it was like the other
Mhm.
day, right? I can't quite remember what it is.
Hey, quick pause. If you're enjoying this, it would mean so much to us if you'd hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. The more people this reaches, the more folks remember it's okay to be okay. Now, back to the podcast. See ya.
It was something about change, like stepping up into change. And I was starting to doubt myself. I was starting to feel fear. And then Pete sent me a video, and I only had to look at the title. It was about change. I was like, what the fuck? you know? And I watched it and I was like, yeah, okay. And then I did something else. I went upstairs to go to the toilet, and I can't remember what I was doing. I was on my phone. I think I must have been recording something, or I can't remember what it was. But just as I was doing it, the light started flickering. Literally right above me, it started flickering. I was like, okay, and I get these little confirmations all the time. And it's so magical when you learn to trust, when you learn to let go and just let life flow through you and let it steer you in the direction. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still impatient at times. I'm still like, what's happening next? But especially this last month, I've really learned how to let go. And it's just, it just feels so amazing. It just feels so, I'm going to say that word again, freeing.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. Freeing and weightless and just absolutely, yeah, amazing. I love mind. I'm going back a little bit to Jen and talking about, I always said once you had a big shift, when or even a bunch of ahas, once you see differently, let me put it that way, whether either way it happens for you. Mind has a sense of humor, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Sometimes, like Jen was saying, it's not so funny, but it's almost like, you have a shift, you see things differently, And then mine is like, all right, here's your first test. How you gonna handle this one? Here's your next one. What you gonna do? And it's not like what's the coolest thing about the principles and wisdom stepping in is that you don't have to think about it. When mine tests you, it's not like I sat back and was like, "Oh, okay, shit. Okay, let me think this. Let me think. It's automatic. It's like an autopilot because it's your true essence. And there's no thinking about your true essence. Your true essence happens. And so, but I could recognize every time I had a little test for mine. And I was like, ah, funny, so hilarious, love it, great.
But
But
you know as well, like it's when you've been testing, like, okay, I know that. Like it's not like you're completely conscious of it,
yeah,
you
and it's
know?
cool,
It
isn't it?
is cool. It's so much fun. Like I see problems as fun now. Like there is some problems that are more of a struggle for me.
Right.
But even that I know that it's serving me somehow. You know, I
Yeah.
know like I don't just believe, I know. I used to believe.
Right.
Now I know. It's totally different fucking feeling.
Yeah. So let me boil it down for our listeners, if you guys don't mind, just because this is something I learned along the way of how to boil that down so people understand that. If I said to you, your name is Melissa, do you believe that or do you know that?
I know that.
Right. So nobody could tell you differently because you know it's not a belief, it's a knowing. There's a difference. So it's like knowing your name. Just kind of trying to simplify the difference between the two because sometimes I think that people think that beliefs and knowings are the same thing.
Mm.
There's like a fine line there with some people. They're not the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of wanted to like make that little bit of distinction and kind of yep, put a little picture to something we can't see.
Mm.
You know what I mean? We can't see a knowing and we can't see a belief, but we know. We know.
Yeah, go on, Jen.
Funny.
I'm just I'm thinking, and it's the believing and the knowing and there's a knowing. The belief comes with hope. Believing is hoping, and a little bit of trust, but like, oh yeah, yeah, okay, sure. It but that knowing, it's this comes with this peace and this confidence that I know I didn't have before. So when I have that confidence in something that's coming in, I know it's a knowing. And I don't care if it doesn't make sense. I don't care if it's not rational. No, I know this. And I can't say that it steered me wrong very many times. You
Mm.
know, I have way more good outcomes from sticking with that. And yeah, I don't. You guys
Yeah, I
talk
just it's just
Nick as yeah.
it's a guidance system, isn't it? Like I find it like confirmation and there's just no words to really describe what we're talking about because it's just so powerful. So it's
So
like
I'll say this. Oh, go ahead.
go on.
Nope. I thought that you were like, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, I'm just seeing pictures. I'm just seeing this core going through me, like this white core just literally going straight through me, and I'm touching it. That's I don't even know what that is. That's what I'm seeing in my mind right now. Like
love your pictures in your mind.
I
I
get some,
really do.
I get some random pictures in my head, but I never used to. You know, I used to always think that I couldn't use an imagination. I couldn't have anything up, and now it's just like random things just pop in my head. But yeah, I'm seeing this, me touching this thing, this power, like like I'm. What's the word for
Uh,
it?
you know what I just heard?
Go on.
That's what you're seeing is yourself grabbing your power, stepping into it. You're taking control of your power. You're like coming into the full awakening of Melissa, if that makes any
It
sense.
does, because I'm getting tears in my eyes.
Good,
No.
because that's exactly what mine said to me when you were describing is she's grabbing her power and it is, yeah. Jen knows. I see it on her face. I got chills. So
Oh.
I wanted to go back for a second though. Jen,
Hmm.
and I'm just going to challenge you a little bit on belief, right?
Yep.
Because I don't want to tie the word hope to belief. Okay. And that's just my own personal thing. Okay. That obviously that's my own personal thing because and obviously this is a belief of mine, right?
Mhm.
I believe that if we don't have hope, we don't, what do we have?
Mhm.
Like, I don't think hope is a bad thing.
No.
But what I wanted to say about beliefs and kind of the difference between beliefs or just what beliefs are, because like you said, it's really hard to describe the knowing and beliefs and that kind of stuff. Here's beliefs, guys. At one point in time, they were made up by somebody somewhere. They made this thing up and called it a truth, when in all actuality, it is a belief of somebody else's. Does that make any sense? There's a difference then between the knowing, which is truth, and a belief, which somebody made up. Nobody made up the knowing, the innate wisdom. Nobody made up mind and the intelligence that runs the show. None of us can take credit for and say, "Oh, I did. I totally created mind. I created thought." We can't say that. So
Right.
that's kind of the difference there. Because you can't see either thing. But a belief is somebody's made up. I don't know the word I'm looking for there,
Well,
but
Made up
made up
thought.
bullshit. Is that good? What'd you
yeah.
say, Melissa?
Made up thought.
Yeah, that's probably nicer than bullshit. What I said.
And I see that because we can have beliefs that are negative. We can
Mhm.
believe that we are not good enough. We are so I guess the whole belief and hope, when I put those two together, that's what when people told me they believed in something greater than themselves before, I'm like, oh, look at you with all that hope. You know,
Right?
like, oh, bless your heart. Good for you.
I guess hope comes to the type of beliefs that are
Yeah, so I guess
staged
I was
around wanting
I
something.
was putting hope on a belief in there being something greater. So does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like when
So
I
now that you know, go ahead.
oh I didn't say it right. I didn't say it right because yes, beliefs can be negative and beliefs can be positive and the hope
Huh.
when yeah, I struggled with
I
the
wasn't
higher
saying you were
power for
wrong.
the longest time. No, I know you didn't say I was wrong, but I've
Okay.
been
Do you know what? I'm
thinking
just
now
go.
when I hear what I said, because it doesn't sound right to me, so I said it wrong.
Do you know what I see with beliefs now? Which it just literally just come to me, is a belief, no matter positive or negative, is always attached with doubt.
Yes.
So you've got like you can have like a percentage wise. It doesn't matter what the percentage wise is, whatever the belief is, there is doubt. Even if you're 99% belief in something good, there's 1% doubt. And that 1% is the difference between belief and knowing.
Yes, I like that.
And that happens negatively as well. If you believe that you're unworthy, there is a part of you that it doubts that. Otherwise, you would know that you're unworthy.
That is beautiful.
Yes,
Melissa, you're on a freaking roll. That's so true. I love that. Yeah, because it does. Yeah, you can take it right back onto the negative side, onto a negative belief. And 1% of that, there's a percentage of that, whatever it is, that there's a doubt. I love that.
Yes, me too. I'm writing it down. So I'm stealing that, Melissa. That's ours.
Go for it.
The way she's honest. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
I was anyway. It just come through my mouth.
Oh, that was great.
Dude, I
Like, you
have
want to say
no
something,
thoughts
John?
right now. Like I'm just.
Neither have I. I'm literally just like, I'm just in this space right now of just pure peace. And just, I don't know, I just feel like I don't need to say anything. I'm just, my.
I'm glad you said that. It's going to see, look, I've got something to say. That brings me back to sometimes it's okay not to have anything to say. Because, so last week when you did the session and coaching, I was completely at peace. I was in total agreement. I was completely just so peaceful listening to you. And that's why sometimes it's okay not to have anything to say. Maybe not on a podcast, but you know what I'm
To
saying.
sit and say nothing.
Yeah.
We'll call
To be
this
fair, like, why
this
not have-
episode a meditation episode.
Yeah. But the thing is that we're in a society that you have to fill every space with words. You know,
Right.
small talk, you can't be around someone. Like, I mean, I can be around you guys and like not talk, but generally in society, you can't be around someone and not talk because it feels awkward.
Yeah.
But that space is also language. That silence is also talking.
It is.
And like I love it when I can be around someone and not talk, not feel like I have to talk. I can just feel their energy. I can just feel them there, and it's like, this is nice. I don't have to talk. We don't have to talk. Like, yeah, we're on a podcast, but
But no,
I
to
know
feel
that.
comfortable enough to not have to fill the space. Me and my husband were talking the other day, and it's just like, that's one of my favorite things about him. You don't have to talk to him. He doesn't have to talk to me. We can be in the same space and not say a word. And neither of us think the other one's mad. Neither, there isn't stories being built in the silence. Because I think a lot of times, like before, with people I'm not comfortable with, and there's that silence, it's like, ooh, what are they thinking about me? And what's my quickest way out of here? And what the but there's like, and it makes it that awkward, and it's
And I think also like we're
go ahead.
cool. No, I was just saying like when we feel so comfortable in ourselves in our own grounding and feeling comfortable in that silence, which is something I've had to work for, and I'm still working on that. It gives the other, like we say all the time, it gives the other person permission, and people, when you're comfortable in it, when it's not awkward, when you're comfortable, people feel energy. You know, there's a lot about energy now, and you know, there's still a lot of people that say woo woo and blah blah blah. But you walk into a room, you know the energy of that room. We are feeling beings. We
Yes.
feel energy. You know, we give off energy, and when we're in that silence, we are talking energetically. You know, vibrationally, we're giving off. We're always communicating. You know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because when you were talking about the fact that, everybody's just kind of, not much to say, just feeling good and in peace, it's really, we're all feeding off of each other. Because I think all three of us are in that space right now of just a beautiful feeling and a beautiful place. And yeah, so our energy speaks to each other, absolutely. Because I can guarantee, okay, I won't guarantee, but 98% sure that if one of us started to get up in our heads and started to go a little bit faster and faster, that would, at least one of us would follow suit.
Always picking
Just
up.
because, yep, from, feeling the energy, feeling the energy. But yeah, no, so in an LP, there was three types. Let me make sure I have this right. Three types of communication: conscious to conscious, conscious to unconscious, and unconscious to unconscious. So yeah, we can, that's sometimes like when I'm looking for a word and I don't, when I don't say, hey, one of you guys help me out, but sometimes when I'm like, and then one of you perfect word comes out of your mouth, unconscious to unconscious communication,
Mm.
or like if we want to take the label of unconscious off of that, energy to energy communication. It didn't have to say, oh, Melissa, John, give me the word. You guys felt it from my energy,
Mm.
and you knew, and out it comes, and it's perfect and beautiful,
Yeah.
and
And
that's that magic and that
yeah,
you
and
know
you know, we can read each other's thoughts. We can pick up on each other's thoughts. Like me and Dave, it's freaky crazy, like sometimes. Like we'll do the exact same thing at the exact same time. Or this is crazy, right? So this happened beginning of the summer. And you can even feel things that are not human, okay? We had this rose bush in the pot for 2 years because we were building our garden now. And the beginning of summer, was it this year? No, it was last year, I think it was. No, doesn't matter. Anyway, so he's put in this. I'm in my own little world. I can't remember what I was doing, but I'm in my own little world, not even paying attention. And he's putting this pot, this rose bush, into the sleeper, into the.
like the rosebud, the garden,
Yeah.
like the yep,
Yeah.
we know. Go ahead.
Yeah. So he was putting it in there, and all of a sudden, I felt this feeling of and pure gratitude. Like it was gratitude that I've not felt as a human. It was pure. And I was like, where did that come from? And instantly, I knew it come from that rose bush. And then I got goosebumps all up my body. I was like, that wasn't mine. That was not my gratitude. That was the fucking rose bush. So we can
Yeah,
feel energy. And the thing is, that rose bush is absolutely like living, like, there's so many roses on that rose bush.
yeah,
But I look back at that and thought, wow, like how
that's
amazing is
cool.
that? It must just have been because I must have just been in an open state that I picked up the energy of that rose bush. And I know some people will think, oh, you're woo woo. No, I know it was that rose bush. That wasn't
Absolutely.
my gratitude.
It's kind of like the communication with animals, right? So with the people that know my story of me having a heart attack and not knowing it, absolutely have no idea. I can tell you who knew, and the dog is now passed away, but my female lab at the time, Shade, that was her name, she knew.
Mm.
She absolutely knew, because this is what I told people. I said, you know what? The only thing I can tell you is that the day it happened, and I couldn't remember the exact day of the month or whatever. I looked at her at one point. Now, she followed me around the house all the time. Okay. But, you know, she'd back off here and there. But if I went somewhere, she usually went somewhere. But this day in particular, it didn't matter where I went. She was right there the whole day, to the point where I literally turned to her and I said, "What do you know that I don't?" And I wish I could talk. But I know for a fact, without, confirmation from my dog that's deceased now, but without confirmation from her, I know for a fact that she knew what was going on. I know it was that day because of her. And it's the only thing that I know. I don't know So, yeah, okay, so people might be like, oh, okay, well, dog, Rosebush, a little different. Not really. They're both living things.
Yeah.
They're absolutely both living things.
Just
And,
like
and
we
all,
We all
yeah,
have
just like we are.
consciousness,
yeah,
all part of the
all connected to
consciousness.
that.
We're all connected.
Yeah.
We're still made out of the same things, which is life. Which is life.
Yeah. We're all on a radio wave. And sometimes we get to hear through the radio.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize they have a radio
Yeah.
and that we are connected to that wave of connection, that wave of consciousness. Every single one of us has a radio in our pocket.
Too bad some of us never turn up the volume, huh? Or is it turn it down? Which one? I don't know.
I think tuning into a station. If you don't know you have the radio,
Okay.
you can't find the station that plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that comes down again as well, like to what frequency you're on, and it's kind of, because obviously I do believe in the law of attraction and stuff, and you're going to attract whatever frequency you're on.
Yes.
Absolutely.
If you're down here, you're going to attract a reality that represents that frequency. If you're down here,
Want to be down there doesn't mean you're not down there. You have to be willing to look at your thought process, see where you're at, and be willing to set down what you think you know. Because sometimes we get
that's another
so
thing as well.
attached to what we think we know that we discount everything else.
And something else just come to me about, he was talking about insights. And a good way of explaining the insight is that if you're down here sometimes and you may be quiet for a time, that insight can jump you from there to there. If you have a big insight, the little ones can jump you like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
going
And you know what?
no matter the size of the insight, as you slow down, as you let go of all of the stuff that you think you know, become open to maybe I don't know as much as I think I know. It when you slow down, then that jump, any insight, no matter how small, it's going to take you up from where you're at. No insight is going to take you down. That is the ego.
No.
Absolutely.
And it always comes with a feeling of peace, like you say. Like a lot of people say, well, what's the difference between the ego and the intuition? It's like, well, intuition always comes with peace, even in chaos.
Yeah,
Crystal, what were you going to
absolutely.
say, or have you forgotten?
I forgot.
That thought train left the station again.
It did, because I got so like just deep listening to Jen that it just kind of went up. It had something to do with the knowing and the insights and the ahas, right? And yeah, when whether you have a big one that takes you up here or you have the little ones, right? You're still getting to the same place. And someone can have one big one and that's all it takes and never have another aha. But it still changed, the trajectory of everything. And the little ahas. So never discount the little ahas because, right? Because the little ahas can move you right way up here somewhere. Eventually, they just keep stacking on each other. And so I love it because, here's the honesty. I got a little aha, then a huge shift, and then nothing for a while. Just recently have I started getting little ahas. So that's how it went for me. So I'm over here going, yeah, I'm the one that had a big shift and didn't get anything for after that for a while. But I really think I needed to adjust. Meaning, like, I don't want anybody to think I put effort into it, but just to recognize what had taken place. First and foremost, it took me, even though my massive shift came with this beautiful and amazing feeling, it took me days to realize what even happened. That things had changed, even though I immediately during that shift looked outside, looked around, everything was beautiful, perfect, different, nothing I'd ever seen before. It still took me at least 3 days to realize what happened.
Well, the thing is, like, your reality is completely shifted. It's like, a lot of people call it like quantum jumping. You've jumped a different timeline,
Yeah.
and so sometimes body and the nervous system just needs a little bit of time to catch up as well. Like the
And
nervous,
mine did for sure.
yeah, the nervous system has been in that kind of belief system for so long that the body is responsive to that, and then you start having different thoughts. Your body's like, "What's going on here?" It just needs that
That
time to integrate.
and that was exactly it, Melissa. And I love the way that you just explained that for people because that was exactly it. Because after I had my big shift, things happened, right? External things happened. And I didn't react the way I would. And that's where it was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why am I not freaking out? Why am I not pissed off? Why am I not screaming, yelling, throwing a fit, being hysterical right now? What in the hell is going on? Because I was completely at peace. Even though these external circumstances were going on outside of me, I didn't give a shit. And when I say it like that, what I mean is there was no reaction. I was still very peaceful. And then the thought that went through my head was something like, oh, it'll either work out or it won't. I'm like, who the fuck said that? Because I would never have said that before. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful. So yeah, no, I love the way you explain that because I really do think that my freaking body and my atoms and all that had to catch up
Yeah.
because it was such a massive shift for me and I was in such a place for God, probably 30 years, but more. Um, yeah, it took time to catch up. So I love the way you explained that.
The thing
I
is, like,
love
the mind and the body are connected. They're not separate. Like me, for instance,
absolutely.
where I'm going for a big shift at the minute myself with my confidence and like getting out there and having this voice, my body is really reacting. I've
Mhm.
got eczema in my belly button. I've got I've got rashes on the back of my legs. I've had boils on the back of my. I've got I've got so much stuff happening to my body. Normally, I would freak out and be like, "Oh, what is going on? I feel like a slob. I feel disgusting. Like I've got all this. My skin is just really bad at the minute." But now I'm like, it's okay. It's just purging the shit that I've been holding on to for years. And I know
Yeah.
it won't. I know it's not forever. I know it's going to pass.
Yeah.
And I know that my body is just a representation of what's going on here, and my body needs time to catch up with what's going on in here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Non-duality. It's all one thing.
Yeah.
Mind, body, and soul, or spirit, whichever one you want to put. You can say
And I guess
there.
it's the same as the snow globe thing again. You
Yeah.
know, you put the snow globe down, your mind has now released the thoughts, and the snow has to have time to fall. Your body needs time to catch up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's, yeah. Why are you just on fire, girl? Like, what? I'm loving it. I know. Oh my gosh. Is it just me, Jen, or she's just on
No,
fire or
she's on
what?
fire. She's on fire.
I love it.
Mm.
Up, grabbing that power, girl. Grabbing that power.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think I'm just letting stuff flow. Like I'm not questioning anything. I'm just letting it come out. Whereas before, I would get stuff, but I'd be too afraid to speak it. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm trusting it. If I'm getting something to pop into my head, it's coming into my head for a reason, and I just let it. And I'm trusting it more and more and more. And the more I trust it, the more I get, and the more I get, it just feels good.
It does. Do you guys ever find yourself saying to people, hey, even, I know I've said it to Jen, Melissa, I've probably said it to you, saying to people, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you this because mine told me to, okay? And they're probably, some people would look at me and be like, I know you guys get it,
Yes.
but sometimes mind is very persistent. And if mine tells me over and over again, then that is exactly how I present it to somebody and say, listen, I have to tell you this because mind keeps telling me. So I need to pass it along to you.
Uh,
So yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it can seem a little woo woo.
I had that as well because, like, I realized that I could connect to things. And there were some times in my thing that I was getting messages and telling people, but then it didn't go very well
Yeah.
because one, it wasn't the right time, I don't think, and two, I don't know. I just, but I feel like that was a lesson for me to like, I don't have to say it if I'm not invited. Like maybe they're just giving me the information, and if I'm invited, then I'll give it because if it's given without invitation, it can really bite you in the bum. And that's actually when I stopped trusting. I stopped
Yeah.
trusting for a while because I was getting these insights, I was getting these messages come through. And like I actually spoke to my dead granddad, the one
Yeah.
that hurt me.
Yeah.
And in that message, it was like, my forgiveness set him free.
Okay. I know people might think it's weird that,
No,
but that touched my soul. Do you know what I'm saying, Jen?
yes.
Yeah. Melissa, that really touched my soul. And
Uh,
that's beautiful because forgiveness is very powerful.
oh, so powerful. Like, I still remember it. I still remember, like, and I could feel his energy behind me, but I could feel I can quite often feel other people around me. Did I ever tell you about the woman on the bed?
No.
Oh, okay. So now this is going into woo woo.
That's okay. Let's go there.
It was, I can't remember when it was. It was a while ago now. And it was a time where I was struggling with trust. I was getting loads of signs, but it wasn't big enough. I wanted more proof. Give me more proof. You know, stuff that was just, it was not explainable. And yet I still wanted more proof. An alien could have come up to me, said hello to me, and I'd be like, not proof enough. You know? But anyway, I was in my bed and I was just laying there. And I said, if you're listening to me, source, I just call it source or higher self, whatever. I said, come to me now. Like, show me you're real. And so I'm laying in my bed and I'm still awake, but I'm kind of in that real nice space of like just relax. Normally if I ask for something, I normally can't let go of the thought, but this time I asked and I let go of it. You know, that car thing where you pull it back and you need to let go of it for it to move.
Yep.
So I asked, and then a little bit later, all of a sudden I felt someone sit on my bed. And I was like, okay. And I'm sitting there with my arm up here, my knee up. And then I felt like it was a female presence, like a woman. That was the feeling I got. And then I felt her lean over me. And I was like, holy shit, I'm definitely awake now. And then I moved my hand down and I actually feel her fucking finger.
Oh my.
As real as I'm touching my finger now, I felt a finger. It was slender. It was really cool to the touch. I knew it was a woman's finger. And I was like, ooh. And I was like, there was two parts of me growing. There was this fear that was bubbling up. I was like, just this fear was coming up, and I was trying to push it down, and I was like, no, don't go. And then I felt like my whole room was starting to fill up with like shadows. Like I could just feel presence in my room, and then I could feel her starting to move away. And I was like, no, don't go. And then there's another part of me like, no, go. You're evil. And I was saying all these like affirmations like, I am only attracting 100% pure energy, blah, 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 blah. And all this, like, that was just fear. And then I was just, the fear just overtook then. And I was shaking. I was like, fucking hell. And I remember shouting to Dave, because at the time we like had separate bedrooms because I'm a fussy sleeper. And I remember shouting to Dave, but I also knew that I was in this kind of like middle world. I don't know how to explain it, but
No,
I
kind of like an in-between space.
in between space, yeah. And I could see outside that space and I could see inside of it, and I was screaming and I knew he couldn't hear me because I was in this space. And I was screaming and screaming, and then eventually I got out of it and I was so shook up, like my heart was just like beating so fucking fast. And then I just went into the bedroom with Dave and I cuddled him. I was like, oh, this just happened. But yeah, that like fucking terrified me. But I also know that I asked for it, you know?
Yeah, what came to my mind was be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah. But it was just like, and I've kind of done it again like lately, like I've asked, but not quite with the same conviction, you know? Whereas that I was,
Yeah.
come to me now. I was like, okay. But I felt like the respect as well, like they kind of moved away because they could see my fear. So it was so weird because I could feel everything that was happening at the same time.
So
That's
cool.
crazy.
And even though that I was in that fear, it's also really like magical, and yeah. That's my woo-woo
Awesome.
today.
That's awesome. That's
Awesome.
absolutely
Yeah.
awesome. And I hate to do this, you guys, but I do have a long drive I gotta make today and still gotta get back in time for my class. So
That's okay, because I really need a wee.
Okay, because my husband just got home.
Perfect timing.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you for watching. A little bit of a different episode for us, but you know what? Really insightful. Don't forget to check out other episodes. Hit that like, hit subscribe, tell your friends. We're a lot of fun. We'll see you on the next one.
See you later, guys.